Welcome to Season 12 of the Prosthetics and Orthotics podcast. This is where we connect with experts in the field, patients who use these devices, physical therapists, and the vendors who help bring it all together. Our mission remains the same: to share stories, tips, and insights that help improve patient outcomes. Tune in and join the conversation. We're glad you're here and hope it's the highlight of your day.
Hello everyone, my name's Joris Peels, and this is another episode of the Prosthetics and Orthotics podcast with Brent Wright. How you doing, Brent?
Hey, Joris, I'm doing well, man. We missed you last week. Katie did fill in with you, and I think you would have had a good time with Brad better? Too. So,
is she better than I don't know, dude. I'm really worried that she's better than I.
Well, it's what's crazy is it is so. What's interesting about having another clinician on that was also a technician is there's a different perspective there. But I think we miss out. Well, I know we miss out on a lot of not only the business side of things, but then just the.
So she's better. You're saying that she's better.
I'm not gonna win this one.
You can't. But no. I'm glad. No, I'm glad. I'm glad if I can make it somebody that's really awesome and has a different perspective. I think it's great for our listeners and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so it's good stuff, and I'm glad that it makes sense and still fun and stuff. So that's good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So it was.
Anyway, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, today I kind of continue the last kind of theme of the AOPA National Assembly. So AOPA is the American Orthotic and Prosthetic Association. And I know you get confused. What is AOPA and what is AAOP and what is this? And it is kind of crazy. There's two different massive shows for the orthotic and prosthetic field. This one historically has been like more the business vendor type, where the academy is more like individual, maybe research and such. But the reality is that they're kind of starting to look very similar. Not to get too far into that, but I do think that our field in general, because we're so small, would actually benefit from like one big show rather than two shows that look the same. So again, your mileage may vary. Your mileage may vary, but what I wanted to do today is just talk about the assembly, kind of what's happening, and then go through maybe some of the vendors, some of the people guests that I would be excited about seeing, cool. Looking through, and this might be putting you on the spot a little bit. I guess we can always cut it later, but we can also look at this list and be like, hey, these people actually aren't here this year. And that's an interesting thing as well. So I have no problems going there. And here's the reason why is, and I shared this on my LinkedIn profile, HP has been consistently at these shows for 3D printing for the last 7 years. And I know they're not making a ton of money off, if any, really on the prosthetic side of things, but they also understand that you have to be in the trenches with the people doing the work, not only for the respect, but to say, hey, we're in here for the long haul with you guys. And I think that's important. So I'm actually just kind of curious what you think about that sort of thing, just with what you know about trade shows and such.
I don't know. So trade shows are always difficult because, like, it's especially if you're an OEM or a big company or a big service, you always have to be there. You always end up spending more money than you'd like because these things are always too expensive, and you never really know what the return on investment is. Like, so perfect from a business point of view, it's always very difficult to figure out the how much you invest in these things and how much you get back. And it's kind of because a lot of it's kind of branding, right? A lot of it's kind of like you said, being there, being represented, being there, and you don't know how many extra leads you get. You know how many leads you get on the show, but are you getting extra stuff throughout the year because you were there? Because people appreciate that permanence that you're kind of showing off, or that kind of that committedness. So you don't really know. And you end up, and there's always being expensive. And for small companies, like if you're a startup or if you're, only if you're even a maybe medium to large company and you have like one marketing person, it's a it's a bit of a problem for your organization. So it's tough to go to one of these shows because your whole company kind of grinds to nearly a halt for that week. So it's always a difficult thing to do. And it's difficult to tell, but I do think that consistency does matter. Like, whatever you do, as long as, even if it's a table or whatever, just go there always, And I think it is important to show your face and bring a lot of people. And what people always forget is they always trying to go big on the stands, right? And take relatively few people. And I think it's the other way around. I think the key thing I think you should be doing is bring as many people as you can, engineers, customer care people, sales, whatever, and having the smallest stand you can get away with. Because that it's just about being there. I mean, if I'm on a really big stand, I'm going to be like, oh, wow, it's so amazing. I'm going to think in the back of my head, I'm paying these people too much money. That's what I'm going to think. I'm like, oh, a coffee. Oh, thank you. But okay, the machines are way too expensive. So I always think that, the stand has to be kind of respectable, right? Mm-hmm. But just bring as many people as you can to interact, to make those friendships, to learn new things, to learn about the competition, to learn about trends and stuff. And that kind of approach is to me much, much more valuable than having like, oh my God, you see their stand, it has fireworks or whatever, So I look at this differently, but I do agree with you. It's the consistency is the key element here. To be there every single time. And to build up that relationship also with the people from the show, but also with everyone who goes. And for some people, it's some of the most fun times of the year for them. It's a really time to learn and exchange and show off things. And so being part of that is I think a very valuable thing as well. But again, very difficult to quantify this as a marketing spend compared to AdWords or something,
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I agree with you on the consistency side of things. And I think it's an interesting take on, bring people. And I think the bottom line is people buy from people, right? It's the people that you trust, you're going to do business with. And even with a big company, if you bring those people and those people create relationships and that sort of thing, then you're going to buy from them. And I like that take, yours. That's very nice.
Okay, cool. So all right, tell us about this event. How big is it? Who's it for? That kind of thing.
Okay, so the event is in Orlando, Florida, and they have a very big. It's the Orange County Convention Center, and I forget how many millions of square feet it can be. Like this is going to be in a corner of the building, and they have 165 exhibitors and counting. And guess what? The Orthotics and Prosthetics podcast is going to be there and broadcasting live and all that stuff. Awesome. So we're gonna have fun like we did last year. There's going to be a ton of credits available, and here's another really interesting thing that you probably would appreciate. Brad was talking about. They have the technical side, which is how do you make these devices. And Niles, who we've had on before, that builds these tools and such, and the safety equipment and such, they actually have like a little mini lab that they're setting up that's going to be hands-on. So it's going to be, ovens, grinders, all this stuff to show how the technical stuff will work. And of course, there's always the extra paperwork and the extra safety and all that stuff that goes on. But I think it's super important to have things like this to bring in not only the clinicians, but the technical side, because the technical side is what is changing right now for the orthotic and prosthetic. So to have education around that and be able to serve that, I think is very neat.
Okay. That's super encouraging. And apart from the whole, is there also is there a big focus on the academic part of things? That thing is a big part, or is it kind of a side gig kind of thing?
No, it is a big part on the academic. They're doing the pedorthic and technical lab. They also have, and I think we've talked about it before, the digital showcase. So anybody that's involved with digital anything, there is like a case study, say a brace and a prosthesis, and all the companies address how they would tackle that specific case. And then you're able to talk to the people, the vendors there on what their workflow looks like to address the needs of that particular case. So that's pretty interesting.
Okay. And if I would go, like, this is clearly orthotics, prosthetics vendors, right?
Yeah.
Anyone? Like, is it valuable for the technician, the owner, everyone in the business?
Yeah, so I would say so they're going to have a technical track, they're going to have a clinical track, they also have a business education track, and then the pedorthic side, which is kind of up to the ankle, so feet, foot orthoses, that sort of thing. I think that is, yeah, they've got programming for everything. The other thing that's very interesting, and we always talk about insurance and all that, they're going to be having what they call an ALJ mock trial, which means that this is the final stage. Like, say you had a prosthesis and it got denied and it kept on getting denied and you have appealed. Finally, you get in front of a judge to plead your case. So you can finally get paid for the device that you provided for a lot of times a year or more prior. And the fact that they're giving this mock trial, so you get a actual case and
That's super cool, dude. That's really
I mean,
cool.
it's very interesting. So I think there's a lot there. There's the um, the big where everybody gets together, that big assembly. I think there's going to be some very special times, some special speakers. It's going to be amazing, and the amount of credits available in person is like 34, and then the amount, which is the max that you could get if you were to go to every single thing that you could get to, but then online afterwards it's probably going to be 100 plus hours of programming that are included in that. And I don't know if you knew this, but every 5 years we have to have
Yeah.
75 hours per. So if you're an orthotist, you need to have 75 hours. If you're a prosthetist, you need to have 75 hours. Or if you're both, you need to have 125 hours every 5 years. I think that's correct. It might be some. I don't. I forget. Anyway,
So
it's
going to two
important.
of these shows will cut it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so that you're going to see a
Well,
lot
this
of
is good.
people
This is
there that
good.
are. Yeah. So and I don't
I'm
know
going
how
to
you
check
feel.
in and go to the theme park.
And there you go. Well, and I think that's one of the interesting things about doing it in Orlando is, the family aspect. You can take your family and go vacation afterwards or whatever, go see the Mickey Mouse or the Universal Studios.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my wife and I went to the Chocolate Museum in
Okay.
Orlando. That was pretty cool, but and it should be a more or a less hot time of year. So this is a good time of year to be in Florida.
And it's 3 to 6 September, right?
Yes.
Would you recommend people go like, do you come the day before? Do you go one day? What would you recommend for most people?
So a lot of people, if you're just going, you probably get in the third, that and hit the afternoon stuff, and then go hard Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then head out Saturday evening. If you're wanting to do some networking and what have you, exhibitors start setting up on Tuesday, so Tuesday and Wednesday morning, and then they'll be breaking down later. I think it's Saturday. Um, So, if you're with your family or what have you, probably catching it before or after. It's really an interesting time because a lot of kids are going back to school, so it's probably not great timing unless you catch it, the just for the weekend or something for that. So, uh,
Okay.
yeah.
And okay, and then yeah, no, is there a lot of like social stuff around this? Is like I've noticed this in different industries. Some industries they basically it's a kind of like this is very unhealthy. How are these people doing this? And other industries is kind of like basically after the show, everybody's going home and you have maybe dinner with someone, and then you're gone. Is it like a big kind of social thing, or is that kind of not as big a deal as some other places maybe?
So it's not like a mug social, but
Kind of what I
there
was
is
thinking about.
um, so you will have, there's probably one of the nights, and this one will probably be Friday night, where there's a lot of people that will stay up late, and and it's chatting, and it's really fun networking, and you talk to a bunch of people, a lot of ideas. There's a lot of things that kind of go on, for lack of better terms, in the shadows, right? Somebody's in the corner, so it's always interesting to see who's talking to who, and you may have a sense, or you may not, of what potentially is going on. Um, the this might be the first year that actually take a sport coat with me. Whether or not I wear it, who
Oh,
knows?
wow,
But
very
I'm
fancy.
yeah,
Yeah.
I am moderating, so I'm pulling a yours peels on a couple things. So I've got a couple things that I'm moderating, which should be fun. And so they've asked us to be a little bit more
This
dressed.
is this is something I recommend to anyone. Like if I think you kind of have to be kind of extrovert, or at least be a kind of person that could turn that on. You don't have to be the most extroverted person in the world, but if you are kind of, and if you're into public speaking, you can do that, and you're confident. I think that's the most important thing. It opens up a lot of opportunities to go into this moderating or be on panels and stuff like that. And especially if you do it well, like as in not you're like, oh yeah, I'm Brent, I'm amazing, just promote yourself. But if you really are there to further the debate and make that discussion really good, you kind of get in that circuit, and that's a really good place to be. I think you keep getting invited to stuff, and you keep getting free entrance and stuff and all this, and also just wonders for your own profile. And even I found that the kind of the least, the more useful you are, and the least you promote your own business, the more that's appreciated, and you really end up getting a lot of opportunities to network with people and stuff. And I think it's a really, if you're able to get into that thing, then it's a really, really valuable thing to be involved in.
Yeah, yeah, and I know like for this, there's a lot of volunteer students and things of that nature, and your access to speakers and that sort of thing that you especially if you're volunteering and they're speaking and you have the opportunity to help get them ready, make sure their slides and all that stuff. Like that's a pretty big opportunity to, you have with specific people that you may look up to or network with and that sort of thing. So I would concur. And there's always need for helpers for sure.
Yeah, it's always so. And if you just look at the cost, it adds up really, really quickly. Usually the tickets are very expensive, and then sometimes for a couple of hours you can just volunteer, hold a coat rack or something or whatever, and then just do your thing.
Yeah.
So really
Well, I'd
cool.
love to go through some of these vendors too that I'm kind of excited to see, and some of and we may just call some of them the friends of the show too because they came on.
Yeah.
But so I'm just in the A's, and I'll quickly go through some of these. Aether Biomedical, we had Drew come in and share about his hand and how the stuff was able to be repaired in the field. Very cool. Alps has always been very generous to the orthotic and prosthetic community. They're one of the first companies ever to produce massive production of gel liners, which has changed the course of history for amputees and comfort. So they're always really great. We had a great conversation, and his name is escaping me right now, last year with one of the guys from Alps, and it was really neat. Alt Bionics, I don't know, when you talked to Janet on the 3D pod, she might have mentioned that they work with Endeavor doing some of that. So that's pretty interesting. I'm just looking through here. That's the A's. Becker is always interesting. They hang out more in the orthotic space, but I know that they're working on some composite stuff that's very interesting. So what's great about the composite side of things is being able to get stuff into shoes. So a lot of times these devices are big, thick, bulky, that sort of thing, and you have to go up a size in shoes or what have you. They're figuring out some ways where you can do that a little bit smaller, and I think that's and thinner, lightweight, stronger, all that stuff. So pretty neat. There.
You skipped one like that I'm really interested in, and I don't know if they're any good, but I like them. It's Basing Lead or Basing Lead. I don't know. Chinese company, right? So they make a high-speed orthotics 3D printer. They call it high-speed TPU optimized printer. They also have like a scanning thing that feels very familiar. And they make like TPU filament and a foot scanner kind of thing, and a pressure plate and a pressure walkway. So all the stuff you would need to make your own orthotic practice kind of in a package. You can get it all from them. And they can also make the things for you. So this is actually really interesting because that's why I'm interested in this one. I was always looking for an example of like that whole kind of scenario. Like you do the scan in America, and then some dude does the orthotic and then imports it, right? A custom device. And they actually do this. And they said they do it over 100,000 times, but I still don't know if they did it 100,000 times for Chinese companies or for American ones. But that could be a very interesting thing there. But just generally, yeah, these guys are coming up with like the scanning, pressure plate, walking thing, infrastructure to make your own insoles plus the materials. And that to me is a really ripe business, is a really interesting business, and it's also something that typically a Chinese company will super commoditize this kind of thing. Right?
Right. I know exactly why I skipped over that, because I didn't see the English translation of those characters. I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So if you know those guys, I'd love to talk to them.
I don't know them. I've just been following them just because I thought it was always my example of like, well, why doesn't somebody just come up with like a global production? I put Airtrex, those guys, right? They have in a local department store here. They have like a station where there's like a person. So every time I go, like the sports part of the Corte Inglés is called. It's like a big kind of Saks kind of, I don't know. Remember we used to have the department stores in America? That thing. Yeah. And they have Airtrex, I don't know. They have a station and the guy's always there. And there's always a person who's willing to sell you a kind of customized insole kind of thing in the store. And we know that like 6-7 startups have tried this and they all failed. So I'm always kind of looking at this, and the idea would be, well, why not have a guy measuring them in Spain, for example, and then, have them made in India, and then somebody just, flies them in. The guy comes back next week, maybe picks up a pair of running shorts or something. He's good to go, Yeah. So I've always been fascinated by this as an idea, and these guys could commoditize this infrastructure. So I've always been kind of following them. I have no idea who they are, or if they're any good, right? But
I'll check it out. Yeah.
Totally.
Cool. Well,
anyway, go on.
Yeah, so Bulldog Tools, they have some great components. CBS Medical Building, we had Aaron on from there talking about the medical billing and the compliance side of things. Coapt, yeah, that was the one where we surprised you with. I had texted Blair while we were talking live, and Blair came on. That was so awesome. Really? Como and P is the scanning thing that John Naft is a part of.
I still think that's awesome. I think that's really disruptive for everyone. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah. Coyote, you're a big fan of Coyote, so they're going to be there showing off some things as well. And then Cypress Adaptive, we had Matt on talking about some of the suction sockets and that sort of thing, and some of the stuff that they're doing as far as really commodity type of products, but doing it with excellence. I see Equal there. You always give Equal a hard time with how they spell their name.
It's terrible, dude. No, it's I like the guy. I like their products. It seems really, really like they're on the right path. And they seem to be doing it in a very value conscious way for the end user and the participants. So I really like what they're doing. I think the name is just like, I'm like, really, guys? Like, yeah. I always kind of think if I see it, I'm like, okay, what were the other options that you didn't take? Like, what were the 5 bullet points where like, no, let's not do that. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Yeah. So I'm always going to be critical of the name. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then EthnoCare, they do something very interesting where they're using air bladders and such to help with sizing. So as your leg changes shape, it will, you can pump it up like the old Reebok commercial, I guess, which is interesting. The Fabco Prosthetic Designs, they're amazing, traditionally fabricated company. Phil Auer got bought by Hanger. So that one, Fior and Gens, they got bought by Oser, I believe. And we talked to Linda a while back, right before she started with them. Let's see, anything else? Grace Prosthetic Fabrication, you talk about a company that's been around for a long time. Is this one. And they hit all the shows. Very cool. High-Tech's doing.
We should talk to them, dude. I don't know if you know anybody there, but
I do.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, he would love to talk. Yeah. So we should do that
because I'm interested, like a fabrication business like that. So okay, it says here I'm looking at the same thing as simultaneously. 150 years. That's crazy, by the way. There's not a lot of companies that are around that long. And how do they look at this landscape? Are they going to keep innovating? Are they like saying, hey, we're the best at craft, so forget 3D printing? Are they intimidated by this whole Hanger Oser kind of thing going on their turf, or do they really think that the being the independent will ultimately kind of make even more sense, right? If you're not trying to sell them all sorts of other stuff or trying to compete with them as well at the same time. So I'd love to talk to them, and I think that'd be really cool. Really, really very cool. 150 years. That is super crazy.
So then you've got the hangar, High Tech. High Tech is a fabrication facility as well. They're doing some interesting stuff with FDM, also some gel stuff. HP, obviously. Now we're already to the H's. Hold on a second. I think I found my first one.
Okay.
Guess who's not going?
I don't know, dude. I don't know, dude. I'm learning as fast as I can, dude.
Well, you actually do know. What is a big company, multi-billion-dollar company that starts with an F?
Yeah. What? Yeah.
And ends with an Orm Labs.
Oh my God, they're not there.
They're not there.
Wow, that's not good.
So they were there for maybe 2 years, and now they're out. That's interesting.
Wow.
That's
it. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it might be that they're just looking at a cold, hard kind of way. They're a small, relatively small team. They're doing like, let's say, $200 to $300 million in revenue a year, right? So compared to a lot of other players there, they're doing okay.
And they're turning a profit, right? Supposedly.
Yeah, they should be profitable as well.
Which is,
but they're also, I think it just is like the rumor has it all. We've been talking already for 2-3 years about Formlabs going public. And maybe going public. Creality is going public, by the way.
Wow.
And those are the two biggest things that could happen to our industry as an additive manufacturing. So if I'm them, maybe, I'm saving on some marketing dollars I spend in the vertical, and I want to make a big bang in a road show or in in front of investors and stuff like that. Maybe that's it.
Okay.
And that makes a lot more sense now that we know that Creality is going public. We can talk about that separately. And that's a big deal for us. If that goes badly, we should all go do something else. But anyway, that's interesting. Is it always been a natural fit? We talked about this a long time ago. I remember like 4 years ago, we were talking about using Formlabs or SLA parts as an inventor and a maker of products. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense if you want to cast stuff or do lost wax casting and stuff like this. But it's brittle, right? So it's brittle, so that catastrophically fails. I'd much rather have a thermoplastic fail on me and kind of default gently, or to feel my leg kind of collapse underneath me would be a better option than oops and whack, I'm on the floor. So It's never been a natural kind of, place. Like filament innovations should always be there always. You know what I mean?
Oh,
companies like that. Yeah.
Well, they got bought. So they're in the Fs. So I bet they're under a different one though when we get down.
Okay.
So
yeah. But that's like a natural marriage kind of. And then Formlabs, there's so much else for them to sell into. And they have specialized printer, they have specialized dental printers and dental resins. They've spent years developing. Some of the only cleared. It's very difficult to make a resin that gets cleared for use by the FDA in the use in the mouth, especially for longer terms. For obvious reasons, it's very bad material sometimes. And so when they do it, it's a very big deal. So I think for them, it's also kind of like they can go to different industries. Oh, maybe there's a big dental show. There's this one giant dental show they do every 2 years. Maybe that means that a bunch of people have to go to Germany. It's that kind of a thing, right? There's more stuff going on than if there were a medium format FDM material extrusion vendor for them. And also, I don't think it's as happy a marriage as HP or there should be. I'm a little bit upset there's like so few FDM or material extrusion companies here. I think that's a natural marriage that people should be working on much more so than just having the Formlabs guys there, which I think, for them, given the fact that, everybody's thinking they're going public in 1 to 2 years, but we've been saying that for 4 years, so I don't know. And then, with that and the different verticals, if they're releasing new dental resin, of course they're going to put all their money in dental this year. You know what I mean? So I think it's not necessarily like in a week of them not to be here,
Yeah. Well, I think the thing, like if there was anything that bothers me is about it, and bother is a strong word, is if you're not going to be or support this sort of thing, you shouldn't also advertise towards the amputee community, right, as a solution, in my opinion. I think that's an interesting thing. I mean, they do a lot of content around prosthetics and orthotics, and to not to not be there to support it is, I think, an interesting move.
Yeah, I think like, yeah, kind of freeloading. You kind of have to pay a tax to get people to do stuff and all this. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So,
Okay. I get it.
yeah, so we got HP. We talked about them. I think they're going to have a whole crew there, which should be fun, and it'll be interesting to see some of their stuff. IBT is interesting. They do a lot of stuff for upper extremity prosthetic stuff. They do, and I don't know exactly. I need to actually stop by their booth and find out. Icarus Medical. We had Dave on, and I actually just recently fit one of the 3D printed braces on a very active baseball player that was recovering from an injury.
Cool.
It did really well. He loved it. Integrum was the bone anchored prosthetic stuff, which was very cool. And then Invent.
I think that's really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Invent Medical, been around for a long time, creating beautiful prosthetic and orthotic devices. Very cool. In the K's, KISS Technology, they've been around for a long time. Very simple. I mean, that's what that stands for. Keep it simple, stupid technologies. Very cool. We've also, I think we had Scott on. If we haven't, we need to. From Launchpad, he does a lot of cool things for kids. Let's see. Limber, we had them on, and that was actually very excellent because I completely changed my mind on whether it was a good solution. And so that was the beauty of this, right? If you go in with an open mind and you actually ask questions and they answer them, and you realize, like, hey, very cool, very thoughtful. I think it's an interesting and this is the first time that they're exhibiting, which is really cool. Let's see, going through here. Oh, we have the Myomo on, which is the brace for mostly stroke patients, but could be brachial plexus injuries as well. So very cool there. The other thing, you were talking about FDM, Mosaic Manufacturing is there. So I bet they're going to have
cool.
They're going to have their solution there.
Yeah, it's a Canadian company that has they basically have a cabinet that automatically removes print volumes and stores them, essentially. So you could run printers all the time. They do this in combination with their own printers, and they got a whole bunch of money, or like tens of millions of money, to invest in this. And I'm wondering where they're going. I think it's interesting, but to me, it makes more sense for them to just put the bamboo printer in there and then, work on the conveyancing and the scanning and stuff to check everything. To me, that almost makes more sense than them also trying to develop a printer.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a tire company trying to also make the car to make it better. It's like, yes, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, why would you do all that extra work to sell that thing?
Yeah.
But we'll see. And I'm really excited about that, actually. I think the build volumes could be a bit on the lacking side of that, for that solution. But I do think it is there's not a lot of people working on solving that whole conveyancing, I want to leave for a week and come back with 100 prints kind of problem. And I'd love to see them solve it.
Yeah. New Tech. We had New Tech on, and they're the ones that bring in other companies from outside of the United States and help them figure out how their technology can fit in to the U.S. market. So pretty interesting. Nimble is an electronic medical record software. So is OPI. And look who's Open Bionics is going to be there. So this is the first time I've recognized. It doesn't say that they're the first time exhibitor, but I think it's good for Open Bionics to be there. They've been kind of separate from the orthotic and prosthetic community, even though they're trying to serve our community. But they're also opening up their own private upper extremity places. So it's an interesting thing. So I'm going to try to go by and see them.
Totally.
I think that they're using 3D printing in the way that it should be being used. I think now it's how do you monetize there.
I've seen about 20 new first time exhibitor little markings in those lists, by the way. So that's good. Actually kind of a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that normal? Is that
This
more
is it's
interested?
unusual. So from what I understand, this is the most that they've ever had sign up to be an exhibitor. So it's going to be a rocking um, thing there. There's the pediatric, the O&P specialty bracing. I think that's pretty interesting. Oser and Ottobock are both there, which you would expect that.
Mm-hmm.
But I forget which one it is. One of them does not exhibit or has not exhibited at the Academy meeting, kind of trying to get the solidarity of, hey, we all need to have one big meeting. So I think that's neat. And I forget which one it was, whether it was
Mm-hmm.
Ottobock or Oser.
And who has like the biggest stand? Is it these guys? Is it one of these two or what?
So I'd say both of them have the biggest stand actually is typically Alps. They just do a really nice
Really?
job. Yeah, they go all out. Um, super, super cool. Point Designs are going to be there, and that's after their um, acquisition by Hanger, so that should be cool. And then it looks like Proteer is listed twice, and I'm guessing one of those is going to be Proteer Print, which is what Filament Innovations has become. So that's interesting. And then we've had Psionic on. That's the one that kind of blew you away when you held your hand up to the screen and then you made the hand
That was
move.
crazy. That was crazy.
Quadra is the the digital side, but I don't know if you knew this, but Rude Rouleau from Color Fab, and then he
Totally.
also
Like
yeah.
ages. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so we had him on, and we didn't even know that this was going on in the background. But he spun his company, Poto Printer, off to these guys. So they got
So it's sold to them or what? Or wait, who
yeah, I
owns it
don't
now
know.
then?
Quadra, equal.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's
Okay. Yeah.
so the Poto,
Yeah.
not
Okay.
Color Fab, but the Poto Printer side, the Soul. I think
Yeah.
it's the Soul Printer or something like that.
Yeah. That thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
still it's for people who don't know. It's just like okay. So one of the things that people in FDM material extrusion has always talked about is conveyor belt printing. So either you make the head move over the print volume, right? You kind of basically print for infinitely, or you have kind of a conveyor belt underneath the print head, and then you also build infinitely, or you can move both the conveyor belt and the print head on a kind of gantry, and then wow, you have a lot of freedom there. And the coolest thing about this is, of course, that instead of being stuck in this box, you print, and then at the end of the print, when the conveyor belt is done printing this part, it just falls into like a bucket. All right, and then you keep going, right? So it's absolutely it's the most logical idea in the world. A bunch of people, Black Belt was the company that I think the Rude and the guys from Color Fab kind of, I don't know if they invested it, kind of stimulated it, worked with it. I'm not sure how that worked. They did it. There's a Poto printer, which is a kind of another kind of a version of that. And all these kind of conveyor belt printers have gone nowhere, even though everyone is sure that this is the way to do it, right? You know, if you want to make a million prosthetics or something, or a million kind of insoles or something like this is just going to be the cheapest way to do it.
yeah, so I love that, and I think it's interesting that they are investing so heavily on the FDM side of things. I think that just goes to show that there's a lot of opportunity there in the prosthetic and orthotic side of things. So you see Radii there with some of their stuff on creating the shapes of the automatically for the prosthesis. We had Josh on. RevoPoint, how cool is that? That they're going to be there for scanning. That'll be their first time scanning, showing a very low cost solution on board for their scanning side of things. Um, Now we had this guy on. He must have been a part of another booth, or maybe it was at the Academy or something. But Rocky Tech, he's the one that had some of the interesting cooling liners and um, it's like cooling stuff, not the same as what the Brian Costello, a different technology, not water type of thing or heating elements is a very interesting kind of thing. Shining 3D is one of those companies that's been there around for a while now. They've been a kind of a staple, which is great. You know, they're H2D, and I think they've got their Einstar, which is their lower cost. But then they are also releasing, or they've already released the one that everything that's on board. And then Grant Michael from Worth Industries scanned with their blue laser thing, little handheld. I forget what the official name of that one is. He scanned a socket for me, and it's unbelievable how good of socket scan they got. So that was really neat. Spinal Tech, they got bought by Equal. They're going to be there. Let's see who else. Structure, we love Structure. It's pretty neat to see them there. Sure Step got also bought by Hanger. They're going to have their stuff, and they also have a helmet that they'll be showing more. That seems to be going pretty well in a 3D printed realm of things. And Tilgis, I don't think we've had any of those guys on yet, but they do a lot of stuff in composite, but then they run at least a couple 5200s with TPU. They're really good at doing that. So we had Sydney on from Vessel Prosthetics, the adjustable socket. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be the first time that they're actually showing their device. Willowwood has been around for a long time, and then I'm not sure what so that's the last one, and then there's X, but then it's called Idea Step. Oh, it's Zayman Con Technology. Don't know what that is, but that kind of rounds up the list of things. So we didn't touch on all 165, but it was sure a bunch of them.
Okay. A couple things. You forgot Materialize. So Materialize is there, man. That's really good. I think that's good. They're the high-end software kind of vendor. They have end-to-end solutions. If you were like a really big company, Osserbach wanted to have Osserbach, this is when they merge, right? Osserbach Hanger. But anyway, if you would want to have a custom workflow, they could make your custom workflow, especially for metal components and stuff like that. So that's cool that they're there. The other thing
doesn't look like it's their first, which I've never. So yeah, I'll have to see why they're there. Yeah,
that would be really interesting because usually they have like really high-end. So the software costs like $20,000 a seat or something. And if you a metal printer, no problem, right? Or if you do a lot of polymer parts in MJF or something, then also no problem. Yeah, for a lot of OMP people, it's overkill, but maybe for the central fabs and stuff. So that's cool. I think that's cool. And also, I just checked. You can just by searching 3D print and looking at the tags, you can assign a tag to your your listing of your company, just on 3D printing, additive manufacturing, 3D print, and all that. There's like 33 companies that have mentioned 3D printing in their thing of that total. So that's actually kind of crazy that so many or such a high proportion of these companies would be interested in showcasing some of their 3D printing ability in this industry. So I think that's really cool.
Well, look at you using the search function.
Yeah, I have to do something, dude. I'm just sitting there listening to you like, what, who, what? No, that guy. I'm also really terrible at names, so it's always like, which guy? And then I'm always like halfway through the sentence of, oh, yeah, with the hand,
Yeah. That's an interesting.
Yeah, but that's definitely. Like, let's say 1/4 or 1/5 of the group of companies would even actively go through and say, we want to show off our 3D printing thing, or we want to mention it in the search thing. So that's actually really good. Yeah. And there'll be more, right? That just have products and that just don't, feel like it's important enough to mention, right?
Yeah. So I'm trying to think through like some people that aren't there that I'm surprised. Yeah. But I can't. Formlabs was the big one that stuck out to me. You mentioned Film Innovations, but it's under Proteer now.
Yeah, sure.
Trying to think through any of the software companies too. Like I'm actually really surprised Materialize there. I can't think of anything else. I mean, to me, that's the big surprise to me was Formlabs not being there, and I get it. Well, I mean, we're a small fish in a big pond for sure, but we're also this was an interesting thing when I was talking to some of the material engineers for some different materials for powder bed specifically, and I had sent them some videos of not only people walking, but some of the stuff that we do for animals. And so I sent these to the material designers and our material engineers. And he's like, Brent, what was cool about that is this was the first time my mom and my grandma understand what I do. Like, they're like, oh, so your stuff can make stuff to help people walk or help animals walk. And he's like, yeah. And they're like, oh, okay, I get it. And so I think that there's a human nature that comes along with a lot of these 3D solutions that can convey what is possible with additive manufacturing. And I think that's really neat.
Yeah, totally. I think there's a lot of embedded intelligence in just having an object. And there's also a lot of worth in showing it off and having actually a physical thing that embodies some kind of intelligence, some kind of functionality. I think that's also what we're doing. That's why the overlap with OMP is so great, right? That you have a problem, a thing-sized problem in OMP, and then we can make lots of different shapes to fulfill problems with additive. So I think that's where the happy marriage between those industries kind of occurs, right?
Yeah. So we should start planning for next year on getting you here in September.
But okay, wait. Are you going to sit there again and just random people will walk up and I'm just supposed to
I'll
pretend?
I'll
my God.
No. So, probably so. But however, I will probably also try to get like a lineup of what we had. But I mean, how long did we go for last time? Like 3 hours? I mean,
hours, man. It was hours. It was just, if you didn't, maybe like the people who haven't watched the episode or something have thought it was all like planned or something, but it was just like, I thought it was a normal episode. So I just come there and then I see like Brent on video sitting at a show and I'm like, what? And then what would happen is some dude would just come up and like wave hi to Brent. And then some of them would be like, hey, and other ones would be like, come sit down. And then all of a sudden it's like, this is Jane from so let me talk for them for like half an hour about something I don't understand. And then it was like this endless line of people. Some of them appeared to be in some kind of like they were arriving for an appointment. And other people just like had no idea what they're in for. So it was just super chaotic, also for me as well. But I think it was great. So anything like that would be, I think, very funny.
Yeah,
I don't know how people like it, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
So
well,
cool.
And the crazy thing is that we were live that whole time, right? Yeah. So you were able to watch it back, but we were actually live. So that was just kind of funny as well.
Okay. Well, something like that. Then I'll kind of mentally prepare myself for another one of those. Okay. Yep. So that's cool. And feel free to drop by to Brent as well if you're there, of course, at the big show, and it's 3 to 6 September. And I think it's really good. Looking forward to the show, and I think it's a good amount of additive stuff there, some innovative additive stuff, lots of new exhibitors. I think it'll be really, really cool.
I agree. Look forward to seeing everybody.
Okay, awesomeness. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Prosthetics and Orthotics podcast. Have a great day.